Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here and welcome to another Dissidia Opera Omnia video. This video is sponsored by Square Enix, so thanks to them for sponsoring the video. If you want to check out more Opera Omnia content on the channel, just check the playlist in the description. There's some sponsored and non-sponsored videos chilling in there. Also, if you want to check out Dissidia Opera Omnia, be sure to check the description as well. It's available on iOS and Android, and I say this is my big selling point. It has no stamina system, so you can catch up pretty quick as long as you got the time to do it. So check out the link in the description. In this video, we'll be covering the latest edition of Lost Chapters that were placed into the game. These Lost Chapters will allow you to earn Seymour, Sabin, and Ace if you miss their character events the first time around. This will include the armor those events would have provided as well. Now, if you already have these characters and their armors, you'll instead be given some gil as a reward for clearing through these encounters, but you'll also want to keep an eye on the missions you can complete to get some other bonus rewards. Like all of the previous Lost Chapters, these character events have been re-implemented akin to the way the story missions are done, with various fights and cutscenes placed along a field grid. Upon completing all the normal mode missions, you'll obtain the character, the 2 armors, and you'll unlock the hard mode version, which will put your combat skills to the ultimate test against overwhelming odds. By the time you're completing the final mission on hard mode, you'll be up against a 90 difficulty 5-wave encounter. These Lost Chapters are important as they will begin to introduce something new for completion requirements for Lost Chapters overall, and that's bringing the event character with you on the quest. Now, throughout the normal mode versions, this will happen in all of them, but specifically, Ace's difficulty 90 quest is going to require the character's presence in the party for at least one clear to get full completion on the encounter. Now, affinity characters are always a solid option for their events, and obviously, being the event character, they of course have an affinity bonus, but the sheer difficulty of these fights can make them less suitable than other choices for victory. This will be a trend you can expect to continue into some of the later Lost Chapters, so start preparing it for those in advance. You don't have to worry about it for Seymour or Sabin here, but Ace is going to be one we have to talk about. Of course, with new Lost Chapters comes a Lost Chapter banner. This one, of course, contains Seymour, Sabin, and Ace's 15 and 35 CP weapons. This banner is something you'll probably only invest in if you really want to empower these characters for their own Lost Chapter. With Awakenings likely coming soon, you'll optimally want to save gems if at all possible until they actually happen. As for the Lost Chapters themselves, expect to make your way through the normal mode as you would any character event. The real difficulty comes in handling the hard modes, and you'll want to go through those within the first couple of weeks of the event being around if possible, as there are bonus missions to earn from these at the moment. For Seymour's Lost Chapter, your primary threat will be a Night Behemoth. This is the easiest of the new Lost Chapter bosses to deal with, as he resists nothing and has a weakness against thunder and wind. They have empowered versions of most of the Behemoth skills, including Roar and Thunderbolt. Their Combo Rush single target skill afflicts speed down and hits multiple times, and it's the attack that's most likely to break your allies and put them in a dangerous space, so keep your party's bravery values decent if they're being targeted. Night Behemoth's most powerful skill is Energy Flare, which deals AoE bravery damage followed by split AoE HP damage. It doesn't do too much as long as nobody gets broken, but the problem is that you'll encounter 2 Night Behemoths in the final mission on hard mode. This can make it difficult to find the right time to attack, and it's going to chip away your HP slowly on top of that. Due to Energy Flare's potent nature when unmitigated, Aiko's HP regen makes her highly valued unless you're pristine with your bravery management. While you won't need Seymour in any of your clears, he is fortunately pretty good here, and I ended up using him anyway since I had his 15 and 35 CPs from his prior event. The debuffs on Lance of Atrophy are a nice touch to help counter the Roar buffs, and his bravery damage can be insane with his affinity. He got buffed in this patch as well, so long as you have weapons for him, he will do fairly well. The final character is open to be a lot of different options. You can use Saz with a 35 CP, a well-geared Rem who also just got buffed, or any sort of battery or even breaker characters work here. It's actually a very versatile Lost Chapter, and if you haven't done any yet, is probably one of the ones you can approach early on. The second Lost Chapter is Sabin, and it's a step up in difficulty from the Seymours. The main boss here contains 3 ghost brothers who gradually grow stronger as more are defeated. Balance is key here, as defeating them one by one will greatly increase their attack, max bravery, and speed, to the point where they can pummel down any team member in a matter of turns, even though there's only one left. They are weak to ice, water, and light while resisting lightning and darkness. Once again, Aiko works really well here, especially since they're ghosts, making them weak to her smite attack. Sabin is also monstrously good here and just got buffed, so if he is well geared, he is a fantastic addition to the team with his affinity bonus. The last person, again, you have quite a few options, but I either preferred bringing another breaker or a tank. Edge actually worked fairly well here for keeping the ghost busy, so I'd imagine other tanks could perform well here also. Luckily, Warrior of Light and Rem are also both affinity characters here, and they are solid options for the event. So you do have some decent characters. As long as you have something along the lines of what I'm suggesting, and you try to kill them as close together as the same time as possible, this one shouldn't prove too much more difficult than Seymour's, though it is definitely on the harder side. The big thing to look out for is Dark Bargain, as well as some of the other attacks that come out. Because they have a lot of Bravery plus HP attacks, and they tend to lean towards using those as opposed to outright HP attacks, it can make it so you think a character's safe, they get hit twice, they get broken, and all of a sudden they get one shot. You just gotta try to keep their Bravery down and make sure your Bravery stays up if you're being targeted. Then comes Ace's Lost Chapter, definitely the hardest of all the new ones. The boss here is a Raging Tortoise, who might seem harmless by his description, but can be insanely punishing on the higher difficulties. Raging Tortoises on those higher difficulties always go first, with Enhanced Roar or Guttural Bellow, greatly increasing their bravery and enraging them. This makes immediately bravery shaving them super important, and can force summons incredibly early into the fight. When a Raging Tortoise is broken, it unenrages and goes into its shell, delaying its next turn by a massive amount and greatly increasing all of its resistances. Upon the tortoise actually getting its next turn, it'll attack the team with a number of different attacks, but the one you'll see most often is an AoE called Ground Shaker. This gives them a ton of bravery and reduces the party's defense. This regularly puts a party member in one-shot range for the next turn, especially because these guys have an attack that hits twice and then does an HP attack, which can on its own without even breaking you generate 4,000 to 5,000 bravery. So quick bravery shaving and controlling them in the shells helps a lot here. The D90 here will require Ace's presence in at least one completion for full credit. Now Ace isn't necessarily bad here, but I personally feel that the fight can be done easier without him. My honest opinion is to try and defeat it with whatever setup you like, but at some point go through it with Ace and be willing to spend gems to resurrect if you die. It will require you to obviously have to go through the completion twice, once without any KOs and with enough score at that, and one where Ace, it's just a matter of getting through it in as few turns as possible with Ace and maybe using gems to resurrect. But these are the only types of missions I'll ever recommend doing it, and only if the character is not fully fitted for the job, which I think Ace can be, but it's just not my #1 choice. Now, as for the actual encounter, on D90 you're up against two of these things, and it is super tough to beat no matter what you try and do to handle it. Characters that boost bravery without needing to actually attack help deal HP damage when they're in their shells, and that's when they're most vulnerable. But if you can't quickly deal with them when they do return to the battle, it quickly leads to disaster. The turtles are weak to fire, so Ifrit is a solid summon choice here, as is any character that has fire in their kit. Of course, Vivi is an option, and he has affinity here, though he does suffer from having not a lot of options when it comes to turn rate plus. I sometimes prefer going with Shiva for the extra speed when I fall below my initial bravery, for cases like this, when I need a ton of turns really fast. And besides, with Ifrit, you do lose that native benefit when people aren't at max health, and that tends to happen a lot, especially in the 4 waves leading up to the final boss. I've tested a ton of different things, and am mostly looking for the right assist character here as opposed to my actual team. I found plenty of comps that can kill the fight, but beating it within enough turns to actually get enough points for completion escapes me at the current moment. For example, one comp that I found that had immediate success was using a Setzer assist with Yuna, Aiko, and then a third. I did Tidus for this one, but that was just on one attempt. With the Setzer assist, I found that you're very uniquely able to approach the fight, because Freeze Solid has 2 uses. Now, to be fair, you probably won't get to use both of them in the way you really want to, but when you Freeze Solid them when they're in the shell, they'll use one of their turns to exit the shell. Because they won't get bravery back, you can then immediately re-break them, and the same thing will happen again when they come out of their shell the second time. So you're basically able to prevent them from generating bravery for anywhere from 2 to 3 times they actually come out of their shell, which should be more than enough time for you to actually kill them, or at least kill one of them and start shaving the HP off the other one. I was able to do this even with not that great of a Setzer assist. It wasn't even someone I was following. I just needed to get those 2 free solids off in order to actually buy enough time to get the first one dead. However, I fell way short of doing it in enough turns to get the right amount of completion points. So like I said, doing it in that amount of points absolutely escapes me. So if you guys have had success in actually hitting the score markers here, please post it in the comment section of the video, because I'm sure all of us could use some help with this one. And that's going to be a wrap for this Opera Omnia video. Best of luck with those lost chapters. Getting them done in the next, I guess, 12 days from when I'm recording this video is going to be a tough one. But Seymour first, then start focusing on Sabin, and then if you have time, try to get through some of Ace's. You don't need to beat all of them to get the mission bonuses. You do just need to beat some of the boss waves. So at least go through some of the boss waves, get some of the bonuses, even if you can't beat the D90, and make the best of it as you can. But anyway, that's going to be a wrap for the video. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. And stay tuned. We'll be having more Opera Omnia content coming in the coming weeks. I will see all of you in the next one. And until then, take care.